Articles by CHM. Letters to a friend on the present condition of things in the Church of God. Reprinted from Things New and Old volumes 17 and 18, 1874 and 1875. By Charles Henry Mackintosh, better known as CHM. Since writing my last letter to you, my mind has been dwelling a good deal on three great facts presented to us throughout the inspired volume, facts with which, I doubt not, your mind is very familiar, but which, I am thoroughly persuaded must be laid hold of by a vigorous faith, if we would contemplate with a well-balanced mind the present condition of things throughout the entire professing Church. In the first place, then, we learn from Scripture that, in every instance in which man has been set in a place of responsibility, he has utterly failed. Total failure has marked man's history, from Paradise to Pentecost. There is not so much as a single exception to the dark and melancholy rule. Let man be tried under the fairest possible circumstances, and he is sure to break down. Let him be started in business with the very brightest prospects, and hopeless bankruptcy is the certain issue. There is no denying this fact, no getting over it. It runs like a dark, broad line along the page of human history, from first to last. Let us refer to our proofs, a melancholy but necessary task. When first, man was placed in the Garden of Eden, surrounded by all that the hand of an almighty and beneficent Creator could do to make him happy, he believed the serpent's lie, and turned his back upon God. He proved, in a manner perfectly unmistakable, that he had more confidence in the serpent than in Jehovah Elohim, more respect for the word of the devil than for the word of the blessed Creator. He trusted Satan rather than God, blessed throughout the everlasting ages. This, dearest friend, is our first proof. It may seem to some to be very harshly stated. It may seem coarse, severe, vehement, and ultra. But no, it would not be possible for the human pen to portray, or the human voice to enunciate, this terrible proof in features too exaggerated, or in language too severe. The first man, the great parent stem of the human family, the head of the entire human race, was guilty of the terrible act of which we speak. He preferred the devil to God. Thus the matter stands in its simplest, truest form. Men may speak to mold it off, and soften it down, as they will, but no molding or softening can alter, in the smallest degree, the essential features of this tremendous fact. There it stands recorded on the eternal page of inspiration, nor can all the fine-drawn theories of philosophy, falsely so called, nor all the plausible reasonings of infidelity, ever alter its real nature, character, or bearing. It may be said, perhaps, that Adam did not know he was listening to the devil. But how does that affect the real merits of the case? It, most assuredly, was not the way of the enemy to come forward openly and boldly, and say I am the devil, and I am come to slander Jehovah Elohim, and get you to turn your back upon him altogether. Yet this was precisely what he did, no matter how he did it. He led man to surrender the truth of God, and to accept the lie of the serpent. Thus the fact stands before us, if we are to be guided by the imperishable testimony of Holy Scripture. I do not by any means intend to expatiate upon the various links in the chain of evidence, but this first link is one of such grave moral import, that I cannot, nor would you, I am sure, wish me to, pass it rapidly by. I consider it a fact of the most overwhelming nature, that the head of the human family, the great parent stock, did, in very deed, reject the truth of God, and accept and act upon the lie of the serpent. This he did in the face of an array of evidence of the goodness, wisdom, and power of God, which ought to have furnished a most triumphant answer to the foul lie of the archenemy. I think you will agree with me, beloved brother, in thinking that this fact demands our gravest consideration. It will, even though we were to proceed no further with our series of proofs, go far to prepare us for the contemplation of the present condition of things, in which we shall find superstition and infidelity playing such an appalling part. If it be true, and who will dare to deny it, that the first man, the head of the race, the parent stem, believed the devil instead of God, hearkened to the creature rather than the Creator, need we wonder at the murky clouds of superstition that enwrap his fallen family, or at the audacious flights of infidelity in which so many of his unhappy children indulge? The heart of man, of every unrenewed man beneath the canopy of God's heaven, is formed by the lie of the serpent, yea, not only formed, but filled and governed by it. Solemn thought. Fallen human nature is based upon and characterized by a lie as to God, and hence it must be false as to everything divine and heavenly. Man's moral being is utterly false, false at its very center. He is corrupt at his very heart's core. Thus it is he has a ready ear for everything untrue, impure, and unholy, everything against God. You will always find the human heart at the wrong side of any question concerning God and his truth. No marvel, therefore, that superstition and infidelity are rapidly gaining ground in Christendom. But I must proceed with my proofs, and not anticipate what is to come before me in a future letter, if God permit. Passing down along the page of man's history after the fall, we see him progressing, with terrible strides, until at length his iniquity rises to a head, and God sends the deluge. Noah is carried safely through the judgment, and placed at the head of the restored earth, with the sword of government in his hand. This, truly, was a high position, a place of immense power, privilege, and responsibility. How does Noah carry himself therein? He gets drunk, and degrades himself in the presence of his sons. Such is the plain, palpable fact. Men may reason as they will. They may seek to smooth, soften, and pare down, as is their wont whenever any great truth is stated which bears down upon human pride and self-gratulation. But they cannot set aside the humiliating fact that the head of the restored earth got drunk. Yes, the very man concerning whom his father Lamech prophesied, that this same shall comfort us concerning our work and toil of our hands, because of the ground which the Lord has cursed. This man planted a vineyard, and he drank of the wine, and was drunken, and he was uncovered within his tent. I do not dwell upon this, but hasten on to another link in our chain of evidence. When Israel were redeemed out of Egypt, they deliberately undertook, and solemnly pledged themselves, to do all that Jehovah had spoken. What was the issue? Ere ever they had received the tables of the law, they, under the leadership of no less a personage than Aaron himself, actually made a golden calf, and said, "These be thy gods, O Israel, that brought thee up out of the land of Egypt." How terrible! How deeply humiliating! How astounding! To think of a whole congregation of men, headed by such a man as Aaron, actually accepting a golden calf in lieu of Jehovah. What a proof of our thesis is here, beloved friend! Jehovah displaced by a calf. Who would have thought it possible? But the heart recurs to Adam accepting the serpent instead of Jehovah Elohim, and this prepares us for anything. We are not surprised, when we behold Noah lying drunk in his tent, or Israel bowed before a golden calf. Man fails always, and everywhere. Adam is driven from the garden, Noah despised by his son, and Israel sees the tables of testimony shattered to atoms at the foot of the palpable mount. But Jehovah institutes priesthood. The very man who did all the terrible mischief is invested with the high and holy office. What is the issue? Strange fire, and Aaron never appears in the presence of God in his garments of glory and beauty. One more proof, and I close this letter. A king is in process of time set up. What follows? Strange wives, gross idolatry, and the nation rent in twain. All these, my beloved friend, are plain, undeniable facts, which cannot be set aside, and they prove, so far as they go, the truth of my statement, that failure is stamped, in characters deep and broad, on man's history from first to last.